Let me ask you something honestly. You've read the articles, you've watched the videos, you've told yourself 100 times that this is the year you get serious about money. And yet, nothing changes. The bank account looks the same, the stress looks the same, and somewhere deep down, a quiet voice whispers, maybe I'm just not built for this. I need you to stop right there, because that voice, that's not the truth, that's programming. And today, we are going to dismantle it piece by piece. What you're about to hear is not a list of budgeting tips. This is not save your coffee money advice. This is the deep, uncomfortable, rarely spoken psychology of why people stay broke and what it actually takes to break free. Most personal finance content talks about the what: save more, earn more, invest more, but almost nobody talks about the why. Why do intelligent, hardworking people who genuinely want financial freedom, keep making the same self-destructive choices with money? The answer is almost never about math. It's almost always about the mind. So strap in, because in the next 15 minutes, your entire relationship with money is about to change. The first psychological trap: you inherited a money personality and you never questioned it. Here's something that will shake you. Before you ever earned your first dollar, your brain had already formed a deep emotional blueprint for what money means, who deserves it, how hard it is to get, and whether you are even allowed to have it. That means your financial behavior didn't start when you got your first job. It started much earlier, in the environment you grew up in the conversations you overheard, and in the emotional meaning your mind attached to money long before you understood it logically. Psychologists call this your financial script, a set of subconscious beliefs absorbed in childhood from watching your parents, your community, your culture. If you grew up in a household where money was scarce, where your parents fought about bills, where wealth was described as greedy or selfish, your nervous system filed that away. It concluded, money is dangerous. Money causes conflict. People with money are bad people. And here's the terrifying part. You didn't choose those beliefs, but you are living with them every single day. Research in behavioral psychology shows that most of our financial decisions are not rational. They are emotional. They are reflexes. A person who grew up poor does not suddenly feel safe with wealth just because the numbers change. The identity hasn't changed. The internal story hasn't changed. So the brain, trying to protect itself, finds ways to return to what feels familiar. Impulse spending, self-sabotage, refusing opportunities, undercharging for your work. These aren't character flaws. They are loyal to an old story. The mindset shift: stop asking, what should I do with money, and start asking, what do I believe about money? And where did that belief come from? That is where the real work begins.
Then another hidden layer. Your self-worth is quietly controlling your net worth. This one is uncomfortable, but it might be the single most important thing in this entire video. There's a direct psychological connection between how much you believe you deserve and how much you allow yourself to earn and keep. Think about this. Why do so many people who receive a raise immediately increase their spending to match it? Why do lottery winners often end up broke within a few years? Why do some entrepreneurs burn down their own businesses just as they start succeeding? Psychologists call it upper limiting. The moment your outer success starts to exceed your inner sense of worthiness, the subconscious mind hits the brakes. You've been conditioned by school, by family, by society to have a ceiling on what you think you deserve. And no matter how hard you hustle, if that internal ceiling is low, the money will keep finding a way out. This shows up as lifestyle inflation, as sudden, reckless decisions, as inexplicable anxiety during good financial seasons. The mind will always find a way to return to what it believes is normal. The shift is this: wealth building is not just a financial skill, it is an identity upgrade. You have to expand your internal sense of who you are allowed to be. The millionaire habits you need are not just about spreadsheets, they are about deciding deeply, truly deciding that you are worthy of financial success. That shift, that is where everything changes. But that's only scratching the surface. Now, fear of success is more powerful than fear of failure. Most people think fear of failure is the enemy. But here's the scary part. For a huge number of people, the real block is the fear of what success would mean. This sounds irrational, but follow the psychology here. If you succeed financially, your relationships might change. Your old friends might resent you. Your family might treat you differently. You might have to become someone unfamiliar. You might have more responsibility, more visibility, more to lose. The brain, which is designed above all else to keep you safe and socially connected, looks at success and sees danger. And so it manufactures procrastination, perfectionism, distractions, reasons why now isn't the right time. This is not laziness. This is your survival brain protecting your social belonging at the cost of your financial future. Research in risk psychology confirms that humans are more motivated by avoiding loss than by gaining reward. We will sacrifice enormous potential gains just to avoid the feeling of social rejection. That wiring was useful 10,000 years ago. In the modern economy, it is quietly destroying financial potential. The practical shift? Get brutally honest with yourself. Ask, what am I afraid success will cost me? Because naming the fear is the beginning of diffusing it. The path to financial freedom runs straight through that uncomfortable question.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Emotional spending is not about the money. It's about the pain. Let's talk about something almost nobody in the personal finance world wants to say out loud. Most overspending is not about materialism. It is about emotional regulation. When you are stressed, lonely, bored, or overwhelmed, your brain looks for a dopamine hit. And spending money, that rush of clicking add to cart, that feeling of a new purchase in your hands, delivers one. Fast, easy, temporary. Psychologists who study financial behavior have found that impulsive financial decisions are almost always preceded by an emotional trigger. Frustration at work, a fight with a partner, a moment of feeling invisible or unimportant. Shopping becomes a way to feel in control, to feel worthy, to feel something. But it leaves behind something worse: guilt, financial stress, and the original pain, still unprocessed. This is one of the wealthiest pieces of financial intelligence you can carry. Your spending patterns are an emotional map. Every impulsive purchase points to something deeper, not at your bank account, at your inner life. The mindset shift is to pause before spending and ask, what am I actually feeling right now? That one question, practiced consistently, has more power to transform your financial habits than any budgeting app on the market. Abundance mindset is not just about thinking big, it's about healing small. But it doesn't stop there. The scarcity loop and why your brain keeps you financially stuck. Here is a psychological truth that will rewrite the way you see your relationship with money. When a person operates from a scarcity mindset, the brain literally narrows. This is not a metaphor, it is neuroscience. Researchers at Princeton and Harvard found that the mental burden of financial scarcity actually reduces cognitive bandwidth. The stress of not enough consumes mental resources that would otherwise go toward creative thinking, long-term planning, and problem solving. In other words, poverty, or even the fear of poverty, makes it harder to think your way out of poverty. The trap feeds itself. Scarcity thinking sounds like, I can't afford to invest, I need every dollar. Passive income is for rich people, not me. Playing it safe is the smart move. But every one of those thoughts is protecting the present at the cost of the future. Every dollar not invested in skills, assets, or businesses because of fear is a future stream of income that will never exist. The practical shift is to start thinking in terms of what wealth creates rather than what spending costs. Wealthy people do not ask, can I afford this? They ask, what return does this generate? That is not just a different question, it is a different identity. And identity is the engine of all financial behavior.
Now this is where most people get stuck. You are trading time for money and calling it security. This one is going to sting for some of you. And I say it with compassion. The model of trading hours for a paycheck was designed to create dependable, loyal workers, not financially free individuals. There is nothing wrong with a job, But there is something psychologically dangerous about letting employment become the only financial identity you allow yourself. Because the moment you believe that a paycheck is the only legitimate way to earn, you have capped your income at the number of hours you can physically work, and hours are finite. The wealthy do not think this way, not because they worked harder, but because they understand that money can work without you. Investments, systems, assets, businesses. These are not secrets reserved for the elite. They are tools available to anyone willing to shift their thinking about what income is allowed to look like. The most powerful wealth-building insight you can absorb is this: your income is a lagging indicator of your thinking. It reflects the financial identity you held 6 months ago, a year ago, and 5 years ago. If you want different numbers, you need different beliefs first. The question is not, how do I make more money? The question is, who do I need to become to make more money? And that question, asked seriously and answered honestly, is the beginning of a completely different financial life. Now let's go deeper. The identity you wear decides the future you get. We have arrived at the deepest layer. Everything we have talked about, the inherited beliefs, the self-worth ceiling, the fear of success, the emotional spending, the scarcity loop, the time for money trap, all of it flows from one source: identity. Who do you believe you are? Not who do you want to be. Who do you actually, in the quiet of your own mind, believe yourself to be when it comes to money? Because that belief is the operating system running every financial decision you make. Most people never realize this. They think the problem is their income. It is their identity. The research on behavioral change is clear. The most durable transformations happen not when people change their actions, but when they change how they see themselves. People who successfully build wealth, not through luck or inheritance, but through sustained, disciplined, intelligent effort, share one thing. They decided they were the kind of people who build wealth. They made that decision before the evidence supported it. They held that identity until the results caught up. That is not magical thinking. That is how identity-based transformation works. You do not wait to feel worthy of financial success. You choose the identity. You take the action it demands, and the feelings follow. In conclusion, you are not behind. You were just never given the map. Here is what I want to leave you with. Everything you have heard today, every belief that was planted in you about money, about your worth, about what is possible for someone like you, none of it was your fault. You were handed programming by people who themselves were handed programming. The scarcity, the fear, the shame around money, it was absorbed before you had any say in the matter. But here is the most powerful truth I know about financial freedom. Awareness is the beginning of change. The moment you can see the pattern, you are no longer trapped inside it. You are standing outside it, watching it, which means you can choose something different. The psychology of making money is not complicated, but it is deep. It asks you to do something most people never do, to look honestly at your inner world and take responsibility for rewriting it. Not because the world is fair, not because the system is perfect, but because the alternative is spending your entire life waiting for external circumstances to change, while the real prison is internal. You have the capacity for financial intelligence. You have the capacity for wealth building. You have the capacity to create a life of genuine financial freedom. What you may have been missing is the understanding that the work begins in the mind, and that the mind is changeable. So, ask yourself the question that changes everything. Not, what should I do with my money? Ask, who am I willing to become? Because the money will follow the answer. It always does. Start there, change that, and watch what becomes possible. If this video gave you something real today, hit that like button. Share this video with someone who needs it.
And if you are ready to go deeper on money mindset, wealth psychology, and the habits of lasting financial success, hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell because this is just the beginning. See you in the next video. Have a wonderful day.